Kenya's economy grew by 4.9% last year, its worst performance since President Uhuru Kenyatta's Jubilee Party swept into power, promising growth of between 7 and 10%. The performance of key sectors is highlighted in the Economic Survey 2018 released annually by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, that is KNBS, paints a grim picture of Kenya's economy, even while the government promised a comeback in 2018. To help us get a closer look at the numbers tonight, I'll be joined by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics Director of Production and Statistics, James Gatungu. Also tonight, I'll be speaking to a man who understands immigration matters, that is George Mushe. We'll be speaking about a directive made by Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i on foreign workers. But first, let me take you straight to our headlines tonight. At least 10 aid workers reportedly kidnapped in the volatile South Sudan.
We feel like the government is bulldozing us.
Security forces in Dar es Salaam make good their threat not to allow the planned demos against President Magufuli.
If DRC did this, Somalis, it will be very easy to do it.
Somalia's Electoral Commission to begin the process of boundaries delimitation ahead of the 2020 elections.
Have multiple schools in a community, we can see them come out of war and into a culture of peace.
And tonight, we'll tell you how a U.S. charity organization is helping bridge the education gap in the DRC caused by years of conflict. Good evening once again. The program begins right now. My name is Yusuf Ibrahim. On our Twitter poll tonight, we are asking you, do you believe Kenya is on the right path to economic growth and stability? Do you believe Kenya is on the right path to economic growth and stability? This is a question that is informed by yesterday's release of the 2018 Economic Survey by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. They indicate that the economy grew by 4.9% and about 900,000 jobs were created. We'd like to hear your view on these. Our Twitter handle, as usual, is at KTN News. You can as well tweet me at Yusuf Ibra. The hashtag to use, as always, is Bottomline Africa. Let me now kick off the bulletin with some breaking news. A jury has found Bill Cosby guilty on all counts in the sexual assault trial after less than 2 days of deliberation. The jury reached a verdict and determined Cosby was guilty on 3 counts of felony, aggravated indecent assault. Now, Cosby is now 80, could face up to 30 years in prison, 10 years for each count. A steep fall from grace for the pioneering actor who's amassed tens of millions of dollars over his career and became known as, quote-unquote, America's dad, renowned for his wholesomeness and wisdom after starring in the landmark The Cosby Show. Once again, reports reaching us is that Bill Cosby has been found guilty of sexual assault in a retrial there in the United States. And he's been found, guilty of all counts of the sexual assault trial after less than 2 days of deliberation. The jury reached a verdict and determined Cosby was guilty on 3 counts of felony, aggravated indecent assault. Now, Cosby was 80, could face up to 30 years in prison. Of course, that is our breaking news tonight. But for now, first, let me take you give you much more detail on this developing story with regards to this American actor Bill Cosby. And we have some pictures for you at the moment. Let's roll them. Unfortunately, we don't have those pictures. But for now, let me begin with our top story tonight. And 10 aid workers have gone missing near the town of Ye in South Sudan. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says the group, made up of staff from different agencies, had been on its way to conduct an assessment of humanitarian needs. Now, the missing individuals are reported to be staff of the UN and other organizations. A senior UN official in South Sudan, Alain Nudeho, said their whereabouts and condition were not known. They demanded their immediate release, a suggestion that they'd been seized, but gave no indication of who will have been behind the disappearance. Government forces and rebel factions are present around the region where the aid workers went missing, part of the fighting that has continued in South Sudan despite several peace agreements. Now, this is the second incident of its kind in the country involving aid workers this month alone. Over to Tanzania, where Tanzanians have largely ignored a US-based activist call to stage nationwide protest against President John Magufuli's government. Only 9 demonstrators marched in Tanzania's commercial capital, Dar es Salaam. They were quickly arrested. Mange Kimambi, a self-styled Tanzanian democracy activist based in the United States, tried to organize the demonstrations through social media to coincide with Thursday's anniversary of the union between mainland Tanzania and the Indian Ocean archipelago of Zanzibar. Some shops were closed in several towns, but most of the country was peaceful, with no reports of street protest, according to witnesses. Now, heavily armed police have patrolled major towns and cities across the country over the past 3 days. One senior police officer warned on Wednesday the protesters will be, quote-unquote, beaten like stray dogs. Yes, you heard me right. The main opposition party there, Chadema, said several of its leaders were arrested by the police in various parts of the country on allegations of inciting Tanzanians to take to the streets.
Bulldozing us, and they are trying to. We don't feel like there is this balance between the judiciary and the parliament and the executive. Some opposition members and some good citizens from different parts of the country are not happy with what is going on in the country, especially on democracy and good governance and the way the government is spending the money. They are planning to demonstrate tomorrow, and the police or the government is trying to stop. So a number of people have been arrested on the demonstration of tomorrow. As you can see, some people in Sweden, England, and in America are doing the same. And these guys, they plan that they should demonstrate tomorrow, the Union Day.
Now, more than 2,000 South African union members marched in Johannesburg in a nationwide protest on Wednesday against a proposed national minimum wage, presenting a test for new President Cyril Ramaphosa, who champions the policy. Now, the 20 rand an hour minimum wage, which Ramaphosa sees as an important step to tackle labour instability and wage inequality, was approved by the cabinet in November and meant to be introduced on May 1st. But dissatisfaction over the minimum wage bill could delay implementation. The new president, who replaced Jacob Zuma as president in February, has staked his reputation on revising a stuttering economy and rooting out corruption associated with Zuma's 9 scandal-plagued years in power. The protests are the second major public show of discontent in South Africa within a week. Ramaphosa last week cut short a visit to a Commonwealth summit in Britain a day earlier to travel to the Northwest province, where crowds have been protesting against poor public services.
By government, because it is imposed by government. It's rejected by workers. Never mind the individual leaders.
18 rand an hour, and 18 rand an hour that must be phased in over a 3-year period. Can anybody live on that? But when we look at the salaries of the CEOs,
now, hundreds of opposition activists in Madagascar for the 6th straight day today, calling for president to step down. Now, at least 2 people have died since the demonstrations began, 7 months ahead of presidential and legislative elections. The opposition accuses the regime of trying to elbow them out of the race through new electoral laws they claim benefit the incumbent. They allege that the new laws could bar some candidates from standing in the presidential election. Crowds gathered at a square in front of the capital, Antananarivo's town hall, asking President Harry to quit. 2 people were killed and at least 60 people wounded on the first day of the protest on Saturday, which the president denounced as an attempted coup. The large Indian Ocean island, which has been beset by decades of political instability, is due to hold polls in late November or December.
As students, we won't accept corruption in the university. We are young and we have duties with regard to our country. And we say that electoral laws are wrong. We want the president to resign. One of our friends died during our last demonstration on Saturday. So the president must leave now. They are corrupt. They sell out the people of Madagascar and we are getting poorer and poorer. So go away, Mr. President. We won't stop until you resign from office.
On est ici au palais de la justice. We are here at the courthouse filing a complaint against the people who ordered the shooting of people last Saturday.
Now, nomadic herders have been accused of killing at least 18 people in central Nigeria, including 2 priests. But there are unanswered questions about who was really behind the attack. Tuesday's attack in Mbalum, south of the Benue state capital, Makurdi, appeared at first sight to be the latest outbreak of retributive bloodshed between cattle herders and farmers. Recent months have seen an escalation in the decades-old dispute over fertile land and water that has left thousands dead and heaped pressure on Nigeria's government to act. On Wednesday, 11 ethnic Hausa traders were killed in Makurdi and 2 mosques were razed to the ground and violence sparked by the church attack. The acting state governor said Benue was under siege, while the Roman Catholic Diocese of Makurdi declared it was the goal of jihadists to conquer Benue. From Nigeria, let me take you over to Somalia, where Somalia's National Independent Electoral Commission officials are now set to embark on the electoral boundary delimitation exercise following intensive 3-day training in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Now, the Commission's chairperson, Halima Ismail Ibrahim, said the exercise will start in earnest next year ahead of the one-person, one-vote elections in 2020. The 3-day training, facilitated by the African Union Mission in Somalia, that is AMISOM, and supported by the African Union Commission, brought together 24 participants drawn from NIEC, various ministries, Office of the President and Office of the Prime Minister. Halima said that while they had planned to start the process in 2020, they realized after their training that the exercise was urgent and required a lot of work, hence the decision to immediately embark on the process. During the training, which was carried out by electoral experts from several African countries and the African Union Commission, the Somali Electoral Commission officials were taken through boundary delimitation experiences from Kenya, Nigeria, Democratic Republic of Congo and Tunisia.
Now, and we thought that it was a simple thing, delimitation and boundary for election, and we were planning to do it around 2019 to start with it. But before you start, you need a lot of steps to do. You need a lot of principles to follow. You must have a legal frameworks for that, whether it's coming from the parliament or it's coming from even within the NIC. The most important thing that opened our eyes was DRC, how they did it and how it was complicated, the territory, how the country was divided, how the infrastructure was destroyed, and how it was the interference of the foreign countries and their military. So when we study that, we say, if DRC did this, Somalis, it will be very easy to do it. And we are confident now that we can do it.
We gained a lot of inside information, especially when we compared the different countries, how different countries were done. Regular, normal countries that didn't have any problems, and also post-conflict countries. So that helped us prepare ourselves for the coming 2020 elections.
All these contexts were selected with the view of giving all the dynamics to the members of the Electoral Commission of Somalia and also the other stakeholders to understand what is really about this electoral delimitation, boundary delimitation.
Now, the unending debate on safety and security in Lake Victoria may soon be a thing of the past after Lake Victoria Basin Commission secured 3.6 billion shillings towards revamped operations in the waters. The Commission said that today in Kisumu, during its Joint Policy Steering Committee meeting, the implementation of the project is set to commence next month and will run for 4 years within the lake waters of Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania.
I'm glad that in line with the strategy, the Commission has successfully secured euros 30 million for integrated water resources management project, the 5 million that will help us with adaptation to climate change in the basin, and the 36.6 million for the Lake Victoria communication and transport project. join me in congratulating the Secretariat for having spearheaded the mobilization of these resources and seeing the projects that have for long been in pipeline come to fruition.
Let me now take you over to the youngest nation in Africa. Now, a newly installed solar-powered lighting system at Juba Teaching Hospital in South Sudan is expected to improve health services and security. Now, South Sudan has limited electricity supply with an economy ruined by years of civil war. Nurses, doctors and other staff at Juba Teaching Hospital will scurry between wards and hospital departments at night because the facility did not have regular power supply. That is expected to change with a new solar power project funded by the United Nations mission in South Sudan, which was recently handed over to the hospital's administration. The alternative power will help medics keep the facility running better 24 hours a day. The lamps will be automated, switching on as darkness sets in and soaking up energy during the day. This power project, which cost approximately $50,000 includes solar panels, batteries and lamps.
Sometimes we have cases of women who need to deliver, but with the darkness it becomes difficult for a nurse to help, sometimes results in deaths. But as you can see here, there are people who think about the people of South Sudan. May God bless them. We were using our mobile phones to light. Sometimes the phone falls on the patient. We even used them to help us insert drips. These were the most difficult moments for us. But now, we thank God that we have lights. We can work better.
With the installation of these solar panels in Juba Teaching Hospital, the path is widened. People could walk at night, nobody fears. And our doctors are actually happy to come all across from the emergency department into the wards to see in case we have patients who develop problems.
Now, California charity is helping to educate youngsters in conflict zones, especially the strife-torn eastern section of the Democratic Republic of Congo. As VOA's Mike O'Sullivan reports, the group Justice Rising is attempting to meet a need that is largely unmet in tribal sports worldwide. Take a look.
Eastern Congo was ravaged by a regional war from 1996 to 2003. Bloody clashes over land, mining rights and other issues continue today. This village was the scene of a massacre in 2014. In January, the Congolese army launched a military offensive in eastern Congo aimed at rebel fighters. The charity Justice Rising has opened 7 schools in the region designed to keep children off the streets and safe.
By planting one of these schools in a community that has been torn apart by war, you can see a decrease of child soldiers. You can see young girls less likely to be taken as a child bride and in turn become child mothers. You can see community health increase.
The UN Children's Fund, UNICEF, says 27 million children are out of school in conflict zones. Sometimes they're put to work or they care for younger siblings. The gap in their education hurts their social development.
But it's also about humanitarian development as well, the development in the long term of a country and of an individual.
She says that getting kids in school helps a nation's stability. Cassandra Lee says schools are a catalyst for change.
If we cluster the schools and have multiple schools in a community, we can see them come out of war and into a culture of peace.
Cassandra and her husband Edison hope to open more schools in eastern Congo and forge partnerships in the Middle East.
But I think in Syria and Iraq, we're really trying to empower local organizations that are already doing great work into supporting them financially or sponsoring their programs.
Less than 4% of global humanitarian appeals are directed at education. UNICEF launched an appeal this year for $900 million earmarked for the purpose. The programs must be flexible.
We have that with examples in Afghanistan with community schools, where the schools reach out to the village where the children are. There's also programs where learning through radios to reach children.
Without education, she says, poverty and instability can become entrenched, harming one generation after another. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
Well, and that report from DRC takes Bottomline Africa to a very short break. But when we come back, remember, we still have that discussion that I promised you earlier. One with regards to Kenya's economy, and that comes immediately after that economic survey 2018 was released yesterday by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. In studio, once again, I'll be speaking to James Gatungu, who is the Director of Production Statistics from our City Center studio. Also in studio, I'm together with George Mushe, who is an immigration expert. We're going to talk about that statement that was made on Friday by the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Fred Matiang'i. All this after this very short break. But first, here is Destination Africa.